Based on that type of data we get, we use, for example, this type of graphs in our meetings. And in a certain period, it was very important to look at the distances between the lines. But often, because when the ball is over here, the defending line was not moving up, and the distances between the lines were too big. And what you see then is that there's a lot of space for the opponent to play between the lines. So this distance is crucial, and actually with the current measures, it's easily to check that during a game, but also during training sessions. You can give feedback to your players, are they doing well or not. Now, another way of looking is looking at when there's transition in the game, when you're losing the ball, what are the players doing? The blue are the opponents, and we are the red ones. So what is in the first 5 seconds after ball loss, what does every player? And what you can see over here is there's expected that he will play a long ball. He is sprinting, so this fullback is going with him. But for example, this player, a very short trail, that also means that he had to think and wait, and then at the end he said, oh, I have to go with him. He's actually too late, and this guy is already away from him. And also this guy, actually he's the 10th position. In our play, he should be over here. He should pick up the defensive midfield player of the opponent, and he's still over here. Well, you get 90 minutes that type of data. You can analyze that, and based on that you can discuss with your players, are they doing the things quite well, or should they make big steps to improve themselves. Now, in the world we are all looking for key performance indicators. At the moment we look mainly at events, how many assists, how many crosses, how many falls, number of total shots. That's a very interesting area, and now we are collecting that many data in games and in training, actually unbelievable data. Systems like data mining are becoming more and more important to find relations between events, because at the moment we are just producing systems like a Misco, but Ortec in Holland are just producing events, and actually what we want is getting more information about interaction between players, and what is that interaction between players, and how is that related to getting chances, or maybe to that the opponent scores goals. Now this is the system. The play is working a transponder. We have several base stations around the field, and actually 40, 50 times per second you get information of the position of each player. Well, that's interesting, because if you have position data so often and it's very accurate, you can get information about tactical aspects of the game, and you get a lot of information about fitness aspects of the game. You can monitor your training load, but you can also, and that's important, monitor your execution of the training. What's the quality of the training? How's the performance in the training? And you can do that every day. And that's also vision. What we want is often that the demands in training are higher in games. Well, with this system we can directly, during or after training, give feedback to our players, and that's crucial in keeping a setting where performance makes the difference, and in training you make the difference. Well, this is an example of what we do in training, but also what type of information we get out of it. This is a sprint capacity training. You could call it a high intensity exercise training. It's, you are producing lactate in this training. You do 28 sprints of 15 meters. You have 12 seconds rest in between the sprints, and 4 minutes between the series. And with this type of data, you can look at the power they produce, peak velocity. It's acceleration. With 50 meters, you never reach your maximal velocity. And you can look at capacity. And for example, these are the defenders, the midfield players, and the attack players, the offensive players. And what you see is that the power, peak velocity, is much higher in that group. The defenders are intermediate, and you see relatively low values for our midfield players. Now you can do that also on an individual base. And here you see again the 4 series. For a defender we measured, for a midfield player, and for an offensive player. And what you see over here is that this guy has the highest power of all 3, and actually of the whole team. But for him, 4 series is actually quite easy, but also the 4th series, he can maintain his high power output without any problems. For this guy, capacity is not a big problem. It's easy for him to do that many sprints, but his absolute power is quite low. So for him, if you're thinking, what should I do? Maybe a program, an extra program directed to power training could be very interesting. But the key thing is it a limiting factor in the game? And we have a lot of game data, so we know also for him in game situation, is speed or acceleration, is acceleration actually a limiting factor in his performance? Because you want to do so many things with them. And 80% of the season, you have 3 games in a week, you have to make choices. And especially this type of training, well, it takes up a lot of recovery time, 48 hours to 72 hours. So you have to be very careful for planning this type of training in your season. For this guy, this is a defender. He came back from an injury. You see that his power output is quite all right, but he had problems maintaining that power output over 4 series. So for him, it could be worthwhile to do capacity training and more capacity training. So it's actually a normal training setting. And with our system, measuring system, we get quite easily that type of information. And based on that type of information, we can look, 3 weeks ago we did the same training session. How did he develop? How did he score in relation with the other guys in the team? So you have benchmarks, and you can monitor your players actually quite easily. This is another example. This is a small-sided game with goalkeeper. I think it's a very, very important aspect in our training, but there are many more important aspects in our training and exercises. So it's not that we only do small-sided games. We have also athletic power training, we have sprint training, we have passing drills, we have system exercises, we have game exercises. So it's an element in your total training program. Now what we measure here is the distance they run in 2 minutes. We did 10 times 2 minutes in total. Actually over time, over the 10 repetitions, you see actually no decrease in distance run. Here you see the intensity of that training session. Well, it's around 90 to 92%. That's okay. That was our objective in this training, so that's fine. Here you see the speed index. It's a combination of time in different time zones. And it's important because over time we don't see any change or decrease. And the recovery heart rate is about 20% of maximal heart rate. So in this training session we get the information back that the intensity is okay. We know from earlier the same type of training, how do they perform, what is the work output in this training. And in sense of capacity, we know 10 reps of 2 minutes is actually no problem. So we can make a decision that we go to 11 or 12 reps of 2 minutes, or maybe we go to 2.5 minutes.